In the last 20 years, what he has written on different aspects, it's all problem-oriented approach in archaeology, which is very rare at present in amongst the scholars. And accordingly, he has his theories about different aspects on which he has written during these 20 years and published 10 books, and he is still working on it. So that all is based on certain new theories which have justification, and no one can challenge him in on these aspects. Like the theory everyone for the last 200 years is saying about the Aryan invasion, and very categorically, in very simple language, he has denied it. And so far, nobody has the courage to go against that theory. And it is being established now.
Completely immersed in his work, Professor Lal once composed a poem based on one of his dreams.
The poem is whisked away by a damsel. And the damsel is the bronze figure of found at Mohenjo-daro. Then there was light and the damsel appeared and she whisked me away to unknown land. That unknown land was Mohenjo-daro.
For centuries now, there has been a raging debate on the origins of the Aryans. It started in the 19th century when Max Müller, a German scholar, dated the Vedas to 1200 BCE, while accepting that the Sutra literature existed in 6th century BCE.
The methodology of Max Müller was that each of the previous stages, namely Aranyaka, Brahmanas and Vedas, should be given 200 years. So 600 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, here I got the figure of 1200. Now when his contemporaries like Whitney, Goldstaker and others asked him, how do you say 200 years, why not 100 or why not 500? Then he had no answer. Ultimately he shrank back and he said, whether the Vedas were written in 1000 BC or 2000 BC or 3000 BC, nobody on earth will be able to determine. But the whole pity is that in spite of such a candid confession by Max Müller himself, his blind followers even today stick to 1200 BC and they do not want to cross this Lakshmana Rekha.
In about 1920, the Harappan civilization, now also called the Indus-Sarasvati civilization, was discovered at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Further investigations revealed that this civilization is assignable to 3rd millennium BCE.
Then in 1946, my guru, Sir Mortimer Wheeler, excavated at Harappa and he found a fort at the site. Somebody told him that in the Vedic literature, Indra is mentioned as Purandar, that is destroyer of the forts. He jumped at the idea and readily grasped it and said, here is the fort, here is Indra who destroyed the forts. So Indra, symbolic of Vedic Aryans, must have destroyed the Harappan civilization. It was a very good, thrilling conclusion. For a while it held field, but then later on it had to be given up. Why? In the first place, at Harappa there is a fort, but there is no evidence whatsoever of its destruction. So how can you call that somebody destroyed the Harappan fort?
When the invasion theory lost steam, some scholars suggested that the Aryans came from the Bactria Magiana archaeological complex, a culture of the second millennium BCE in Central Asia.
In the first place, they said the Aryans are nomads, and these are the Central Indian nomads came there. I'm afraid they didn't do their homework. The BMSC people are not at all nomads. They have very good architecture, temple complexes, palace complexes, a whole city complex, and not only that, their antiquities include silver axe, which was meant to be held by some ruler in a staff, and very good human and animal figures. There were lions whose body was studded with gems. Now, such a great material cannot be the product of nomads. But they wanted to say nomads because they had already committed to saying that the Vedic people were nomads. So we must bring in the nomads. The more important point is that not even a single artifact of the BMSC people crossed the river Indus. Nothing crossed the Indus. Now, and east of the Indus was the mainland of the Aryans. So how can you say that the BMSC influenced the Aryans at all? So this thesis also failed. As I said, you should not take any side. Keep your mind open, and then you will arrive at the truth. If you are biased in favor of X or Y or Z, then you are bound to mess up.
Over time, DNA evidence has clearly established that Indian and Central Asian populations share a common ancestry. Professor Lal reasoned that the exodus was from India.
Now, this DNA statement is supported by two very important independent pieces of evidence. One is from literature, another is from archaeology. The literary evidence is like this. There is a text called Bodhayan Shrot Sutra. It's a later Vedic text of about 6th, 7th century BC. In it there is a mention that Pururavas and Urvasi had two sons, Ayu and Amavasu. Then it goes on to say, Ayu went eastwards and established the kingdoms of Kuru Panchal and Kashi Videhas. The other son, Amavasu, went westwards and responsible for the population in the Gandhar region, Persian region, right up to Arat. And this movement of Amavasu westwards is authenticated by archaeology as well.
Indra and other Vedic gods found mention in a 14th century BCE inscription on a clay tablet found in Turkey, while another inscription clearly mentions Sanskrit words.
So the presence of the Vedic gods, the presence of the Sanskrit language forces you to say that the Aryans were present in Turkey in the 2nd millennium BC.
Professor Lal resolved to settle this debate with logical arguments based on facts. He found that the ancient river Sarasvati is accorded great importance in the Rigveda. Excavations by an Indo-Italian team at a site called Kalibangan revealed that it was abandoned in 2000 BCE due to drying up of the river Sarasvati. Professor Lal reasoned that these findings pointed to the singular fact that the Rigveda must be prior to the drying up of the river Sarasvati.
So the minimum date you have to give to the Rigveda is 3rd millennium BC. And Rigveda was not, it is a compilation, it is Samhita. So earlier verses were also incorporated. So it's quite likely that the earlier stages go back even earlier than 3rd millennium BC.
Delving further, Professor Lal found two verses in the 10th mandala of the Rigveda that illuminate the geographical landmarks of the time.
I don't know whether the composer of those verses was a geographer by profession or what, but he mentions all the rivers, Imam, Ganga, Yamuna, Sarasvati, Shaswadri, and goes on up to the Sindhu, and also mentioned the western tributaries like Kabul, Kubha, and all that, which means this was the area occupied by the Rigvedic people in the 3rd millennium BC.
Excavations upstream from Kalibangan at sites such as Kunal and Bhairana revealed carbon-14 dates, which take the formative stages of the Harappan civilization to the 5th and 6th millennium BCE.
It means that the Harappan civilization or the Harappans were sons of the soil. Now, if they are the sons of the soil, then what would happen for the Rigveda? They are the two facets of the same thing. That means the Rigvedic people were also sons of the soil, if you want to use it. They were neither invaders nor immigrants, but were indigenous.
Various theories have cropped up over time, which have been systematically denied by Professor Lal.
So, of course, the debate must go on because with archaeologists or DNA people thrive on throwing some new ideas so that people can get shocked or amused.